Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy IX. Last time, we left off with the destruction of Alexandria. And that's yet another nation which has fallen. As we pick up with the rebuilding of Lindblum. The story across 3 discs so far is really the fall of city-states, of kingdoms, and of empires. It's been a constant. Burmecia, Clara, Lindblum, Alexandria now. Garnet and Ito summoned Alexander to protect the castle from Kuja and Bahamut. And Kuja tried to intercept Alexander with his ship, the Invincible, that we've seen do that exact trick before at the Battle of the Ifrit, taking over Bahamut. And then we got the introduction of Garland, who has apparently been overseeing Kuja. We got some strong hints that Garland and Kuja are not from Terra at all. And a rift formed between those two. This still led to Alexander being captured and Alexandria being annihilated. It's some small comfort that all of our main characters got out relatively unscathed. Physically, anyway. And we've evacuated once again to Lindblum, which itself, as we saw before, is still in the process of rebuilding from its own near destruction from the occupation of Alexandria and the attack that it suffered. The story is a lot of destruction so far. Kuja's left his mark on the world. As far as villains committing atrocities in Final Fantasy go, Kuja's always really stood out to me. Not quite up there with, like, that single moment seared into your mind from Final Fantasy VI with Kefka's Apocalypse. But I think you actually feel this one more on an emotional level over time here. Kefka's End of the World is meant to be, like, sudden and shocking. And it really is. It's not to downplay how powerful that moment is, but it's not just a moment here. Kuja's horror plays out over time, and it's always felt more personal and more weighty to me than that. I guess it's also partially because Kuja and Kefka are such different villains. Kefka is a force of chaos who just snaps his fingers and plunges the world into darkness, and you get this sense that he can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, to whoever he wants, and there's no predicting that. That chaotic nature is meant to be scary in and of itself. But Kuja is a villain with a vision, with a plan, and it's horrible. And what's worse is he's composed and he sees beauty in all of it. And he proves over and over and over again that he is perfectly capable of seeing every step of his plan through to fruition. And every step involves a lot of suffering. So instead of this one sudden, blunt impact, it's suffering again and again and again. And it's touching the lives of every character that you come to know, and it continues to be a driving force in all of their lives. And oh no, Garnet's turned into Squall. After the attack on her kingdom, Zidane thinks that he's just bothering her. She doesn't seem to be able to say anything. Still has her inner monologue, and we see that she appreciates how sweet he's trying to be. And last time we were up in this location by the telescope, Zidane was drawn there by her singing Melodies of Life. Really dope telescope scene. I like coming back up there, because the parallelism and the contrast with the state of things then juxtaposed to how very different things are now. And when we come back stairs, we find out that we have been summoned before Regent Sid. With Queen Braun dead and no longer Lindblum under occupation from the Alexandrians no longer, he's back in charge, leading the rebuilding effort. And we're gonna go see him about Garnet and the current situation down in the royal chamber. Just as soon as we get control back with Synagogue. And I thought I saw a prompt under that banner earlier on, but guess not. That royal chamber is just up here. Doesn't look like it's letting me through. Let me talk to the guard. Now it will let me through. That's a weird trigger. So what interesting facts does Sid have for us? Oh, they're waiting in the conference room. That's where we planned that battle strategy way before we left for Gizamaluk's grotto earlier on in Disc 1. So we're gonna go meet him down there. Whoa, what was that? Oh! That's supposed to happen! I forgot his throne moves like that! I thought that was a weird visual bug. Yeah, so everyone is here, except for Garnet, who's up by the telescope still. While Aiko goes to get her. And she's up here locked away with nothing but her thoughts. Thoughts of guilt. She's blaming herself for everything that happened. She's doubting that she should have summoned Alexander. Doubting that she should have ever run away in the first place. Because she got everyone involved. What do you do when you lose the kingdom? When you take the crown and then almost immediately afterwards, your kingdom is laid waste. Seems pretty reasonable. Pretty reasonable state to be in. Okay, Steiner's saying that he's never witnessed such a tragedy. I mean, it's happened before in this game. Even the minister's like, we're rebuilding. Steiner, have you really not witnessed something like this? You had to pass by everyone rebuilding all of the torn down structures in the city on your way to the castle. I mean, the scope of what happened to Lindblum is not nearly as bad as what happened to Clara and Bermesia, but this is a thing that has happened. Ah. So we know that Kuja is fine. And he was flanked by black mages who were talking normally. Uh-oh. And this devastates poor little Vivi, breaks his heart. Had a brush with death, but this only emboldens him, surviving that. He's not despondent at Garland's apparent betrayal. If anything, he's re-energized. He is even more arrogant now. That didn't kill him, nothing can. Or so he thinks. And hey, Zorn and Thorn are back, in league with Kuja. Don't think that they are going to be accepted back in whatever is left of Alexandria anytime soon. And as for this song, The version that we hear a lot with Kuja is actually Dark Messenger, or some variant of Darkness of Eternity. But this is, remember, his base motif. It's been a while since we've heard this one, I think. It's a lot less stirring, but it's more sinister, I think. I like it less, but it broods a little. Sets a tone for him a little bit more. But like, Dark Messenger is just a kick-ass song. Oh, and as for Garland, it'll be a minute or two before we see him again and before we learn more about him and what his deal is. But it's not the first time that a Garland has been used as an antagonist for Final Fantasy. FF9, of course, being very nostalgic and referential. In this instance, Garland is a callback to Final Fantasy I's Garland. So the very first Final Fantasy villain, and the very last of the PS1 era, or one of the last antagonists. And now Dr. Ta is also going to be joining the conference here. Because not only are we thinking about Garnet's current condition, we're also thinking about Cid's. There has not been much thought put into curing Cid up until this point in the game. His condition has just been accepted, and partially, I think that's to lead the player to the conclusion that maybe Cid is going to be less important to the story than he actually is. Now, Aiko comes in with some bad news that she thinks that Garnet, who we're still calling Dagger, has lost her voice. I don't know why Zidane is particularly surprised by that. I mean, he did walk away thinking that maybe she was just in an understandably bad mood, but either way, Garnet losing her voice is thematically so important. It denotes so much. She's one of the only two characters in the game whose voice that you actually hear through the song that she sings. Losing her voice means she loses that ability to express herself. It's a really important part of her character and how her character is built. Silences the words to the song, so all of the content of those lyrics is lost. Everything that is so personal to her is just kind of thrown out the window. And all of that matters so much more because this is the moment in the game where she is most vulnerable, where she feels most guilty, where she feels like she has lost the most amount of her own agency. And all of that's represented through her losing her voice. I think it makes Melodies of Life so much more poignant as well. Kind of one of those you don't know what you have until it's gone things. By taking that away, it gives it that much more importance when you do hear it. Maybe months, even years before she can speak again, till she can overcome her grief. This is no ordinary illness. God, this is so good. And FF9 has a real rhythm, doesn't it? These big crescendo moments of action that climax in some unspeakable destruction or suffering. These quiet, melancholic, much slower moments of reflection where the full weight can properly hit you. then usually another kind of slowish moment, but to lift you out of that bog a little bit. Something a little bit silly, something a little bit uplifting, and then the action rises again. There's a really clear pace to this game. And it's a damn good one for the story that it tells. So we need an unusual potion, beautiful potion, a strange potion, mixed in a 5-to-3 ratio. Again, we are looking to cure Sid, who was cursed with being an Oglop, some kind of giant bug creature. And we also need to somehow set Garnet's heart at ease. And before we end off, we will hit one more active time event in Lindblum. And then we can start getting into the proper third act of the story. Nah, I don't know if you can really divide this into a clean 3 acts. I have to think on that a little bit more. But it's Cinna and the Nero brothers. Weirdly protective of his hammer. Alright, so that is going to do it for now. Thank you all for watching. Take it easy, have a good one.